If anyone would like to sign up for public comment, please do so in the back by the sink area. There is, the meeting materials and the sign-up sheet are back there. We ask that you do so now so that we're ready to go when it is time for the public comment.
And we have 1 minute. And to the trustees, you have these wonderful microphones in front of you. Do not, under any circumstances, move the mic from their space.
Actually, we are
You
connected
can move
to,
close to the mic.
Yeah.
That's the way we would like you to do it.
I was just going to say, we are connected to the Zoom as well, so the microphones are feeding into a Zoom as well as the speakers here in the room. So when you do speak, we do ask that you kind of lean towards the microphone so that people can hear you more clearly. Or project.
Or project. Thank you so much, and welcome, trustees. It's so good to be with you in person, and it's especially good to have snacks. We are forbidden to have snacks in RAB Auditorium, so we're probably going to go going to enjoy them with you.
Never in RAB again. Just kidding.
If I may make a note that this meeting is being recorded, so I just want everyone to know that.
So we're officially called to order, and I would like to acknowledge our EDI statement. When I say acknowledge our EDI statement, I'm not going to read it to you. And all of us knows that, you know, our commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion is on the front of our building in terms of free to all. Everything that we do is intended to create a spirit of inclusion, invitation, knowledge, inspiration, growth, and all of that. And we acknowledge the fact that we're on the indigenous lands of Native Americans, and we hold that fact true. So keep in mind, in everything that you do, we invite you to join the trustees in ensuring that in your life, you're bringing that spirit and that acknowledgement to all to whom you're interacting with. Equity, diversity, and inclusion. I'm going to turn it over to our clerk, Pamela, to call our roll.
Thank you. I'm just going to read the last names. There are a few that I know will be absent today. So Joe Berman.
Here.
Jim Canales.
Here.
Welcome. Cheryl Cronin has not arrived yet. Ms. Douglas.
Here.
Mr. Liu will join us shortly. Jose Masso.
Here.
Mike Rush.
Here.
Ms. Tyler will be joining us. Christian Westra.
Here.
And Lynn Wooten.
Here.
We are waiting for one to have a quorum.
And Pamela, do we, in terms of approving the minutes, we need to wait?
Yes, we do
Okay,
need to wait. I
good.
apologize.
So you get to hear me talk for a little bit. My favorite thing. We're really pleased to be here in this beautiful space. And when asked, what do we like about Roslindale? What do we like about this space? The answer is everything. I particularly enjoy the maze. And for those of you who haven't been through it, you'll get a chance to check it out at the end of this meeting. But when you're in a beautiful space and place, we all know that it impacts not only our well-being, but our health. It makes us healthier. And that is one of the key things that is associated. This is our doctor, and he would agree with us that being in a beautiful space informs and makes you a healthier human being. And that's one of the reasons why the McKim was the, you know, clearly the people's palace, and why every renovation strives to have and create that same interior. It not only makes us feel good, but it tells us what we're worth. You know, when you're in a beautiful place and it's yours, it really impacts your self-esteem. Many of you, many of the trustees were here when we opened, when this branch opened, and what a day that was. The square was just packed with people, and with Mayor Wu, and we're really delighted to return. One of our trustees is not here today, John Heiler, and he was driving to the airport when he called away at the last minute. But what he wanted me to tell all of you is that the Heiler Drugstore, Senator Rush, why don't you, do you know it?
Drugstore was
Yeah.
right here in Rosendale Square, yeah.
Yeah, for 50 years. And he said that he lived off Belknap, is it Belknap Street? Yeah, you're nodding your head. He said he lived in 3 places there. So he really misses being here with you, and he said he was going to come up, and I'm sure that he'll visit with the friends when he does that. Well, today we have a really interesting agenda. We have some important votes to take on some of the key financial proposals. Our President, David Leonard, is going to share with you some of the things that he sees happening nationally and also that have a local impact. We're going to have a presentation on the utilization of the library, and you're going to hear from 3 of our newest trustees in their words. You may have seen them on the Zoom the last time and some of them in person, but I'm going to let them talk and introduce themselves. And welcome, Trustee Cronin. I want to thank, there's a long list of people to thank when we think about the libraries. And the trustees are always letting me know who they've interacted with and who's really made a difference for them. And the first one are the librarians. Really want to thank the librarians for continue to make our library and everything we do vibrant. I want to especially thank everyone that was involved with the Boston Book Festival at Copley and then at Nubian Square. I want to thank all the librarians that welcomed us when we rode around the city. A huge thank you for the associates and who've done innovative book talks. And I just wanted Joe Berman to chime in and let us know what they're doing.
Sure. Thank you, Priscilla. So the Associates of the Boston Public Library, and I probably sit on that board as well as an independent 501c3 whose mission is to preserve and conserve the special collections that are truly unique of the Boston Public Library. A couple of things that the Associates have been doing recently. First of all, every year through funds raised through the Associates, they sponsor a writer-in-residence program at the library. This is for a young, unpublished author in the young adult or juvenile fiction space. The person, recipient of the award, gets a grant, gets a free office. Actually, I think it's right next to David Leonard's office, so it's really nice space. In a ceremony last month, Danielle Emerson, a local author, was awarded the grant, and she'll be spending the next year working on a new novel. The other thing I wanted to mention, Priscilla, if I could, is another annual event sponsored by the Associates is the Pierce Performance Series. The Pierce Performance Series is supported by a grant. And this year, on December 4th, the Associates will be putting on a special performance dedicated to the famous African-American poet Phyllis Wheatley. And there's going to be a dramatic reading and other events around that. So stay tuned for that. That's on December 4th. And you can go to the Associates of the Boston Public Library website if you want more specific information.
Thank you so much. So it takes a village to operate the library, and another key friend of ours and associate is the Boston Public Library Fund. And Paula, why don't you tell a little bit about what the fund has been doing? I mean, we have a huge thank you for them.
If I may just cut in one moment, I need to acknowledge that we do have a quorum with Cheryl Cronin as well as Dr. Ray Liu's arrival.
Thank you, Chair Douglas. Delighted to be here. I think you wanted me to share a little bit about our Night in the Stacks event,
Yes.
which took place on October 20th. This is organized by a new board of the fund called the Emerging Leaders, which is young people from all over the city and beyond. This board was established about 2 years ago, and this was their second annual event. Actually, Christian attended.
Great event.
It was a great event, and It raised over $187,000 and over 350 people attended. So it was great to see that sort of lively, energetic feeling within McKim of young people enjoying the library and supporting the work.
Great.
And we're up to a lot of other stuff too, but I'll just share
Thank
that little
you.
thing.
And they have a great report. I think that, Paula, if anybody wants to get on your mailing list for your report, just let know. It's really, really a good read. But the Boston Public Library Fund, again, it takes a village for the library to be successful. Jeff Hawkins, who's not here today, is one of our trustees. He chairs that. And Paula and Carol are doing a fabulous job. Now, you know, I always talk about the Leventhal Map Center, and I hope that you've been to their latest exhibit. I see a few heads nodding. If you're here in the branch, come on down and make a visit and come and see the newest exhibit. It's called Getting Around Town, 4 Centuries of Boston Transit. And the reason I wanted to it's something you don't want to miss. You know, it's kind of like a Taylor Swift. We,
I don't know if I can say that much, but.
Just like.
yeah, it's just like that. You know, 11, they're breaking records in terms of attendance, so that's why I want to make certain that you are able to get there. So those are my welcoming remarks. And now I want to let the new trustees introduce themselves. We're still waiting for Portia, but let's see, whose photo's up there?
Jim.
It's my big head that's up there, so to get it off there as quickly as possible, I'll just say, welcome. It's a pleasure to be here and delighted to be joining the trustees and feel that it is such a privilege to join such an august group and also to have the opportunity to steward a really important institution in the civic fabric of Boston. So as somebody who started his career as a high school English teacher, I know the importance of institutions like these, and again, such an honor to be part of the group and looking forward to my engagement with the BPL.
Thank you. And what we're really delighted is Jim is no stranger to the library, has had a long history and involvement and knows us. So he will be joining one of our committees, the McKim committee, and supporting us in that way. Okay, whose photo's next?
I have that honor, and thank you very much. Excuse my tardiness coming from Somerville, but what a privilege, truly. I'm Dr. Raymond Liu, and to be in Rosendale, home, of course, our esteemed Mayor Wu, and I was just taking a sneak peek at so much that is happening at this library, and it's terrific. I was never an English teacher, but I did start out, to be fair, at ABCD Head Start, so I was a preschool teacher, and so I noticed that there's an ABCD some work that is being done by ABCD within the Rosendale branch, which I think is absolutely terrific. And then I made my way to become a physician where I practice at Massachusetts General Hospital, and also run a consulting group there as well over for international patients. So thank you so much for welcoming me to here in Rosendale, but also my fellow board members and Chair Priscilla and Pamela has just been such a wonderful guide to all the new trustees. So appreciate it. Thank you.
And you're very welcome. And Ray will be joining Christian and Jose and David on the Strategic Planning Committee. And perfect timing, Portia. Perfect that you're here to say a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. Forgive my tardiness. For some reason, it took an hour to get across the city. I don't know where we're living. But Portia Olayiwola, she, her, hers, poet, writer, educator, professor at Emerson, as well as Brandeis, and author of I Shimmer Sometimes Too. I've been in the city for 14 years, give or take, and super excited, honored to be serving on the board. Long time fan of libraries, grew up in a library, spent most of my time in the city at various libraries across in various branches, and just super excited to really be considering the work that the library is doing in terms of the strategic plan, and really interested in listening to librarians, more specifically who are on the ground and kind of doing the service work. So I hope I covered most things.
Could you just say a bit about Phyllis Wheatley?
Sure thing. Yeah, I actually just finished working on a project that commemorated the publication of Phyllis Wheatley's book, first collection of poems. I think it was September 1st, which marked the 250th anniversary. And so I've just been kind of putting on several events throughout the city that really acknowledges that this was the first African-American published, as well as the third woman in the country published, and what that means and how we should always be considering and acknowledging that legacy because it's ours, right, in this city, so.
Great, thank you.
Could I just add, it would be great if for the event, we have, of course, the Phyllis Wheatley statue on the Commonwealth Avenue Mall, so, which is just such a wonderful visual of her. So it would be great to figure out, a way to showcase that a little bit with the event we're doing.
Thank you. We also, there was I think an unveiling of an inscription recently by the mayor and Friends of the Commonwealth Mall, which updates that monument, and we did have on display are several copies of the original published works in our special collections reading room recently to mark that anniversary as well. So this is a continuing celebration like many others, not just one at a specific moment in time, but thank you for the suggestion.
And the associates will be having a special event around it as well, sharing the music. And I could have asked Louisa about the the Phyllis. I will ask you later when we do new business to talk about it. But anyway, David and I and all the trustees, we're thrilled with our newly appointed trustees. As you know, we're appointed by Mayor Wu, and I think that when you think about her commitment to the library and her commitment, you know how her special relationship that she has with you, you can really tell that she put some thought into making certain that we have a robust, engaged, smart, committed board. So thank you very much, and we look forward to our work together. And let me turn it over to David for some introductions.
Thank you. I'm going to continue with this spirit of it taking a village, because we are here in Rosendale Village, and this is our first return of the full board to an in-person meeting at a branch since before the pandemic. And we had also a practice of trying to visit newly renovated or newly constructed branches for these meetings. And so here we are a couple of years later, so forgive us for the delay. But to begin the content part of my report, I'm going to ask the branch librarian, Jennifer Hawes, to tell us about the space and the programs and the staff, librarians and library workers and everyone who makes this place come to life. Jennifer.
Whoops, thanks so much. Okay, I just broke the cardinal rule. Not supposed to move the mic here, I'm thinking. Sorry. It was just a teensy bit. Okay, so welcome to the Rosendale Branch Library, especially for those of you for whom it's your first time. I am Jennifer Hawes, the branch librarian here, and I'm so happy to have everybody here today. How did we get here? We've never been far from this spot. Library services for Rosendale began at a drugstore across the street in 1898, so you can kind of just, a stone's throw. And then it migrated a short way over to what is now Adams Park, which is a grassy park, and was installed in a building there in the first floor of the Taft Tavern, or former Taft Tavern. It wasn't the tavern and the library, in 1904. And then in 1918, it operated out of the municipal building on Washington Street and Cummins Highway, which is now known as the BCYF Rosendale Community Center. And it finally landed here in 1961, not unlike a spacecraft descended from the sky. Did you notice the aeronautical dome atop the building when you entered it? Architects began planning this building in 1957, the same year that Sputnik was launched into orbit. The aeronautical influence is seen or can be seen in the multitude of glass windows and alternating panes of sky blue glass. So take a look when we walk around later. The building looks outward and upward, but if you had x-ray vision and could look down beneath the floor, you'd find that you're sitting atop the basement of what was previously a Romanesque style firehouse. The building, right now, if you've gotten a quick impression coming in, there's a lot of blue. This building is suffused with blue, but perhaps the flourishes of fiery red and orange in our furniture are a nod to the days of the firemen. That's just sort of my guess. So, yes, this library was built on the firehouse basement and on a pentagonal shaped lot. This lends our curvilinear shape, our roundness. This and our dome make us unique among the 25 branches. The newest phase of the library's life occurred in October 2019 when renovation to mostly the interior began. Flash ahead to December 4th, 2021 at our ribbon cutting, a sparkling but cold and blessedly snowless day when thousands entered our doors and were delighted and amazed at the transformation, and many of you were here for that. Most notably, the circular, centrally located workstation, from which the library sections and collections neatly radiate. Adult section to the front, teens in the middle, children's in the back. Former patrons could orient themselves by looking above into the dome, where their large white sunburst sculpture it still hangs. It is made of wood. It serves acoustical purposes, and sometimes we call it the snowflake. Features of the renovated building include a teen area, study rooms, a laptop bar, maze-shaped bookshelves in the children's room, a conference room, a quiet reading room, an outdoor terrace, this great community room, complete with a gallery wall behind me. Also new and novel is the installation of an elevator, which goes to the basement and can deliver you and lots of heavy loads of books and things to rooms that are dedicated for use by the Friends of the Rosendale Library and the Rosendale Historical Society. You will not find one single scary centipede thing crawling around there or frightening holiday decoration, unlike in the previous years. So this
I mean, they weren't props.
no, no, I've heard
Checking.
there's not a lot, you don't hear a lot about centipede sort of taking over. It's usually ants or, other types of bugs, but it was centipedes. So this transformed building, it's wonderful. It's bright, it's light, but of course, the heart of this place lies with the staff. And so here we have up on the screen, have a little look at some of the staff. There I am, and also our generalist 2 librarian, Mary Devine, in the upper right-hand corner, and our children's librarian, Celeste Bokikio Chadri. Oh, there she is. Oh, there's Mary. Mary can come on in, see her in the flesh. There she is. Oh, and Celeste is here too. Oh, great, wonderful. Come on in, Celeste. Yeah.
Great.
And Miss Celeste, her name, I usually stumble over it, so she said it's okay to just call her Miss Celeste.
Thank you.
So they are devoted librarians and great to work with, as are our library assistants. And there is library assistant Teresa Owens-Powell right there. Senior Library Assistant Alice Nin is not in today, and Senior Library Assistant Timothy Slater is probably busy at work over at the central workstation. And there is our custodian, Anthony Debnam. Thank you, Anthony. Oh, here he comes. He didn't wear the tie today and the boutonniere, but there he is. Thank you for everything. And we have two wonderful shelvers, Milagros Cruz and Corinne M. Gay. So this is, so you can go ahead one slide. This is just sort of just a little bit of what we do. You know what libraries do. I just wanted to show you some of our circulation numbers. This chart sort of shows the increase from 2000 and you can see from 2018 and 19, the lower, the orange and purple lines on the graph. It sort of goes by month through the year and the number of items circulated on the left. So it was sort of around 6,000 and in 2022, since we've opened, you can see that it's jumped up to 8,000. And over the course of the year, and then it jumps even higher than that. We're getting to 10,000. So we have steadily increased our circulation and are struggling to keep all our books back on the shelves with all our shelving. So this is what that means. This is great. We have fantastic readers in Roslindale, and we have great collections curated by our librarians. So this is just real recent data from July to September 2023. 27,813 people walked through our doors, and we held 164 programs attended by 2,835 people. I think that's on the low end. Sometimes I think there's a few more in that number, but definitely our programs are robust. So we're doing a lot of programming. So we do children's and teen programs, I won't go through all of them, like many of the branch libraries or many of the libraries. We have similar programs. We have weekly story times. Miss Celeste is there, seen drumming, leading the way drumming. She does 4 story times a week, and we have weekly after school programs. Crafternoons, Art Explorers, Lego Club, Anime Manga Society. We have homework help, and those are just some. We also have Hora de Cuentos en Español, and that is a Spanish language story time on Saturdays with Miss Jeanette. We have lots of other things. We have author visits, special performers, countdown to kindergarten, lots of classes. I'd say at least 5 classes a week visit the library from the local Sumner School and Brooks School and others as well. And we do outreach to Head Start, ABCD, Head Start, and daycares around the neighborhood. We have a lot of adult programs too. We have a weekly yarn and needlework circle, and there's Edna and Joanne having a good time. We have monthly book group. We have films, offer tech assistance, Spanish conversation group for English speakers, and English conversation group for Spanish speakers. Tech Goes Home, which is happening right on the other side of the wall here. Mahjong Club, Scrabble Club, and we'll be having hopefully our ESOL classes back soon for our English language learners. Lots of collaborations and partnerships. It's a great neighborhood, very active organizations. The Friends of the Roslindale Library, don't know what we do without them. They're really wonderful. The Rosie Bound Bookstore, we host author visits here. They're just a little bitty bookstore in the square, so you could pop over there today too, and we collaborate with them to host author visits, and we also do quarterly banned book club, which is fun, and we co-facilitate. And Rosie reads poetry, lots of poets in the neighborhood. They donate books to us by local poets, and we've added them to a collection. And we also have a take a poem, leave a poem display out that we do with them, and if you are feeling inspired, or you might be doodling away a poem in your mind right now while I'm talking, and you can pop it in the box outside the door. And we collaborate with the ABCD and Casserly House. It's a local house institution that that is run by the Sisters of St. Joseph that welcomes often the first step for new folks to this country. So we collaborate with them, and the Rogerson House, we work with the seniors, and the Rosendale Community Center. So there's just like lots of stuff. I won't list too much, but there's a lot of great partnerships. So
Sounds like it, yeah.
yeah, so, and there we are. So thank you so much. It's just a little snapshot of this very busy, small but mighty library.
It's great. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
If there are any questions for Jennifer, we can have Jennifer and our next speaker take them together. I'm now happy to invite forward Linda Jackson on behalf of the Friends of the Rosendale Branch Library to tell us from their perspective a little bit about the branch and their experience. Linda.
We were talking about slides.
I am one of the trustees, and I would just like to have the steering committee members stand up and introduce themselves so you know who they are. We have several here. Okay, starting. Thank you.
Great, welcome.
Yes. And we just really want to welcome you here to our beautiful renovated library. We're so excited for your visit, and thanks for coming to Rosendale. I know it's the far reaches of the city. We appreciate it. The Friends were privileged to contribute input into the renovation process for our library, and we're very proud that our involvement helped produce a wonderful result. Our library is really the hub of our neighborhood. So much happens here. It's always busy. The Friends Group is a totally volunteer group organization. We support, promote, and enrich the services and programs the library offers to the public. Over the last year, 67 different people have volunteered on doing fundraising and various outreach projects. We communicate with people through a website and through a monthly email distribution. Our website has 300 unique hits every month, and our monthly email goes out to 1,400 neighbors. And we feel like this is a significant benefit for us. In the monthly email list, we mostly promote library activities and volunteerism. And because we only send it once a month, people are willing to sign up for it. We get people on our list through the farmer's market, through book sales. We have a clipboard at the front desk where people can sign up. We don't collect membership dues. Our activities involve fundraising and volunteerism. So far this year, we've raised about $9,000, and we still have a big sale coming up. Okay. Our biggest fundraiser that Amy Gitlin coordinates is the annual yarn sale. People are lined up outside the door when it's held in March, waiting to come in and buy the good yarn.
Where does it come from?
Donations from the neighbors,
Wow.
from the newsletter with 1,400 people. And we do some Facebook neighborhood groups to promote it.
Excellent.
We have yearly in-library book sales. You can see how well attended it is. People really look forward to these. We have farmers market book sales several times a year. We'll go out to the farmers market. And as you go out here to the left, you'll see a blue shelf where we have books on sale for $1, and there's a little metal box where people can put the money in. By selling books for 50 cents to $1, we get more books in the hands of more people. We don't just make money, but we're increasing access to literacy for people of various income levels. We also have a Dutch Mill bulb sale every fall. And every December, we have a sale of gift-worthy books. We go through our selection and find the best ones that would make a nice gift. And last year, we started selling earrings, and we made $800 from earrings that were donated to us. So we're going to do that again this year, December 9th. You might be wondering where we get all these books. Our community donates books. We have a bin that you will see when you go out as well. And you come in every other day, it's filled with books people give us. We then use these books to stock little libraries throughout the community, neighborhood businesses, and we also donate some of the books to classrooms, teachers. Here is our space that we're so happy to have down in the library basement. We sort the books there, we organize projects. Here are a few of the little libraries we support throughout the neighborhood. And here are a couple of the local businesses, mini libraries. I just want to stop here for a minute and mention that during the shutdown for renovations, Laura Gang had a vision to increase access to books by having mini libraries and by adding mini libraries to local businesses, in homes and in businesses. And she rounded up bookshelves and businesses that were willing to host these bookshelves and got volunteers to help. So those have been going. The one in Phil's Barbershop at American Legion Highway, there's one at Green Tea Coffee Shop. I visited it this week, and it's still very active, being used by many people. So we had 10 businesses and 7 home-based mini libraries.
That was absolutely fantastic.
was-
Really a good, it's a best practice. I think
Yes.
probably everybody else tried to copy you once you got that going.
Yes. One of our favorite places is the laundromats, because what else you're doing? You're sitting there waiting for your clothes to wash, and children are often with them, and we had children's books there. We have a lovely side seating area, and the front of the library both have plants, and so our volunteers help to maintain the garden there. We have a juried art show every 2 months. Did you know you're in an art gallery right now? We have current artists, and we've had different topics that are of relevance to the community. We have a new window projection project to promote library usage, reading, and to help animate the neighborhood after dark. There's a lit-up message that can be seen from time to time. And we also helped with the seed packaging project, where Jennifer got seeds in bulk from downtown, and our volunteers packaged them into small packets to go out to individuals. Our funding supports children and teens. We've purchased 10 iPads recently for use in programming. We support a film club series that people really love. It's a group they're part of. We were able to fund that at $1,000. We do support Rosie Reed's Poetries by purchasing some copies of the poetry books and placing them in the library for community use. We've also purchased books to donate to elementary classrooms when we've had author visits that are paid for by the city. Puzzles, craft supplies. We've funded performances like for Davy the Clown, Spanish Story Hour, music programs. And we've also been able to purchase Rosie-bound book certificates for the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program. So that's the Race and Inclusion book series is reading this month a book, South to America. And we were able to fund that project at $750. That's held 4 Saturdays in a row every other month. My favorite is the museum passes. I know that the city has some museum passes, but we are able to supplement Rosendale's by purchasing one for the zoo and one for the Gardner Museum. I'd just like to say that we're really proud of the organization we've built. We'd like to see all Boston Public Libraries have active friends groups. I wanted to thank Priscilla Foley for bringing the friends together so we could all collaborate, and we would really like to see that effort thrive. And we urge the board and President Leonard to look for ways that we could extend this impact further, and we're ready to help in any way we can. Okay.
Questions? What?
Hi, do you have any Simmons alums working at the library? Or Simmons internships? It's good to see my Simmons people.
That was a good
Giving
question.
you half a hand.
Yeah. What is the 1,000, did you say 1,000 books by, what is that initiative, please?
By kindergarten.
Could you come up and tell me what that is?
Yeah, so it's an initiative where caregivers can receive a sheet of, usually it's like 100 smiley faces per sheet, or you can also do it online, and you indicate as you read with your child, 0 to age 4, almost 5. As you read with them, you would just shade in one of the smiley faces, and so the goal is to make sort of track that progress, so that you can end up reading 1,000 books before you're 5 or before you go to kindergarten, because the research shows that kids have a better expanded vocabulary, and so it's based on research, and it's just a way to make it fun. And so kids will, they can receive a sticker and a free book for every 100 books they read, and then once they complete it, they can get a gift certificate to
Perfect.
the
I thought that's what it was.
Brassy
Yeah.
Bound. Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yes.
First and foremost, thank you so much. Jennifer knows this is one of my favorite libraries, so I'm biased when I'm in this room. I have two questions for Jennifer and one for you as well. So Jennifer, could you tell us a little bit about the demographics of the 28,000 folks who come here? And then the second question is, are we at a point where we can still serve that number of people daily, or are you in the need of more staff? What is the relationship between the number who come in and the ability for us to serve them?
So the people that come here are, they're really, it's a wide demographic. I mean, I'll start with the latest trends. I mean, lately we have a lot of friends from Haiti that are coming here, that are newly arrived to this country, and we have really, Rosendale is quite diverse. We have people, a lot of Spanish speakers from many different countries, a lot from Dominican Republic, and we also have a lot of folks from South America. We have some folks from China. we also have many like older folks that are of Russian, Ukrainian, Albanian, and Greek descent, that also still speak those languages. We have like a lot of families and young children, and a lot of families settling here, and we have also older people, a lot of seniors that come here too, and so again, off the charts children and families. And a lot of people, we do have some professionals that use this as a workspace that's sort of in that middle age, 30s, 40s age. I don't know what middle age is anymore because we're all living so long. And so, but yeah, from babies to, 100 years old, we have all kinds of people coming through the door, and it's really great. So we're happy about that.
That's one of the things I love so much about coming into this library, seeing that wide range of who they are walking through the door, and you've captured it greatly. And so the second part of the question is, so relationship between all of those who are coming in and our ability to serve them at the maximum standard.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like we really could, to give everyone our full, operate at full throttle. It would be nice to expand the staff by 2. If we could have, it would be nice to have a dedicated teen librarian. Our generalist, she does like, her job title is right there, and what she does, she works with sort of all ages, teens and adults, and sometimes kids. But it would be nice to have a dedicated teen librarian and a programs and outreach librarian, because we are so busy here that we want to get out into the neighborhood, and make those connections, and be on site with some of our organizations, and to make sure that we're able to do that as much as we would like. It would be nice, so we could almost expand our staff by 2. It's really, really helpful having an ESOL, a dedicated ESOL teacher that comes specially. That is very, very popular here, like level 1 English classes. And so the staff here aren't doing that programming, so it's so helpful having that, or having Tech Goes Home here, that instructor teaching those computer skills to people. We just don't have the time and staffing to be doing all of those programs. So it's really wonderful when we can have outside programs come in to help us out. But we are, I need a time lapse on a Saturday of like the central workstation, and you can see everything that goes on, so we really could, I think the branch would shine even more with 2 more staff members.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your transparency and candidacy, because I think, I've come to the library and I've witnessed the use on the part of the, the families and others who frequent the library. And at times I've noticed, so like a hospital where you have a lot of people coming into triage all of a sudden. So I could be supportive of that suggestion, at least for our consideration, Dave and others, as to how you staff this so where you can maximize how we serve this great community. At the same time, the other piece is we're fortunate. You mentioned we're sort of like the epicenter of Rosendale Square because we have BCYF right over here. So there's a partnership that occurs that allows that synergy of, young people and others going there and then coming over here. But thank you for that. I appreciate it. And then I have a question for you, but David, I think you wanted to lean in.
I do. I want to, I think acknowledge the strength of this offering here because it clearly demonstrates that people appreciate it and want to come even more. And in addition to the expansion of services question that was just talked about, there's the expansion of hours. So it's not only about staffing up in hours that were already open, but extending hours. And I think Rosendale was in this first branch of extended Saturday hours that we've been able to do, and the community's responded very positively to that, as you might expect. And as a reminder to trustees, we are in year one of a 3-year ask of the city to expand staffing at the branch level specifically. So we would hope that the whole system is able to continue down that path. But we'll be coming up on our budget questions in the not too distant future.
Thank you. It's my question for you. Can you pack a little bit about the race and inclusion aspect of the programming that we're doing, how that's conducted, who participates, and what might be some of the subject matter?
Yeah.
Hi, Laura.
Sure. This was organized by one of our members, Talia White, and she works with an educator named Josh Frank. And so he runs these discussion groups, and we did it in collaboration with the JP Library before the COVID shutdown, and then went to Zoom. And they actually attracted people from a wide geographic area, including other countries, which was amazing. And now they're resuming in-person discussion. But I think the group with Josh picks the books, and it's a pretty stable group. I think it is largely white, but then the point of it is to expand understanding for that population.
No, I appreciate that program. I'll close by saying that one of the things that impresses me about this library is their willingness, ergo this particular part of the programming, to sort of like step into places where people might be out of their comfort zone, if you will, and to use this place as a safe space, if you will, for this type of conversation at a time where we need this type of conversation, and at a time where we really need to see where are the spaces where we can, have a adult conversation, if you will, in the sense of being able to be honest and being transparent with each other, but at the same time walk away enlightened and see where we're much more closer than we are apart. So I appreciate that. I just wanted folks to hear it from you as to how that program takes place. But thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you, Priscilla.
Yeah, thank you for emphasizing that. Thank you.
Priscilla, I have a quick question.
Yes.
First of all, I want to say thank you to both of you. I'm so impressed by the Friends Group in particular. So many robust, creative, thinking out of the box activities. That's just amazing. Jennifer, for you, I'm sort of picking up on what Jose was asking you about, and the circulation numbers are obviously very impressive on a per month basis, and obviously they're going up. Just as he had a question about is the staffing serving your needs? My question is the books on the shelves, the things that actually circulate, are people coming in and finding what they want? Is the inventory, if you will, kind of responsive to the needs and requests of the community that you serve?
Hi, thank you for that question. Yes, I have to highlight the children's collection. As with many libraries, a large percentage, almost 50% of the circulation statistics are children's materials. And our children's collection is phenomenal. Miss Celeste is, she just, I don't know how she does it. We have our children's collection represents just a diversity of all kinds of points of view and just exciting new books for kids and families. And so it's a really great collection. And so I think I know families are very happy with the collection, with the children's collection when they come in, as well as with the teens. The teen materials also are very vibrant, representing a diversity of voices, and so I think, and now we're getting teen books in Spanish language. And also in the children's collection, now we have more of a variety of languages, which is a request, a need by by our patrons, and so that's really wonderful. That's growing, and for the other ages, I think people are very pleased with what they find in the adult section. We're always trying to better our collection for adults. That would be myself and Mary putting that together and listening to people, listening to what they want and what they need, and providing that, and also growing our world language collection for adults. So with adults, it's a little bit different because many adults like the e-versions of things. They download and stream. So you'll see that the adult stacks are, there's just, there's not as many as maybe there used to be, but also many adults have moved to or prefer the version of items. But yeah.
And I assume if you don't have something on the shelf here, they can get it, or you can order it from another branch or the central branch, or how does that work?
Yes, you can. So books are always moving around the system, and so we are always requesting things from other locations, Boston Public Library locations, and having them shipped here. It's a wonderful service, and also from other town libraries. We just cast a wider net if we need to, from other Massachusetts libraries, and then across the country. So we do our best to obtain materials that people need.
This was always one of the locations that had a highest utilization of the Holes pickup approach, which is where you put a book on hold for adults, put a book on hold online, it gets delivered here, and you just come pick it up, as opposed to browsing, which certainly is the I think, purpose more of the children's collection.
Can I just ask a quick, just sort of before you go, because of the other big piece of how you're drawing people in here is programming. The amount of programming and the breadth of the programs are pretty amazing, particularly given the size of your staff. So how on earth are you doing that?
I don't know. So some of the programs are they are run by others, right? So myself and Mary, we run some of the programs like monthly book club, and she does anime manga society. But we've drawn upon like local interest. Somebody says, "Hey, I'd like a Scrabble club," and I say, "Yeah, you want to do that?" So we're just drawing on people that already have that passion, and it connects them to the library. So we have somebody who's doing the Scrabble club, somebody who's doing the Mahjong club. They have a passion, and so we run with that. And again, the ESOL class, when we have it, and it'll be back soon, I hope, it's run by a teacher that's centrally deployed from downtown. And so I don't know. Sometimes I'm not really exactly sure how we do all of it, but it's nice to have a variety of things, to keep people going. And as much as we can engage, the community to be a part of that. And certainly the Friends help us a lot with those endeavors as well.
It's just very impressive, so thank you.
Yeah.
Just
There
a
is a
comment,
blend of.
make a comment real quick. I can personally vouch for the wild popularity of Miss Celeste as my son comes to Story Hour here and loves it, so thank you so much.
Yeah. I'll tell her.
I was just going to add that there is system-wide block program that is planned, which the local teams can then take advantage of in addition to their own individual programming as well. So yeah, I think the majority of it is done by the staff here, not by central, but there is additional support
Right.
in the system.
Yes, yeah, the block programming is really wonderful. We appreciate that, and also the Creative Catalyst mini grants by the fund. We're really excited to have our Haitian dance troupe here on December 2nd, and we've been trying to get the word out to all of those that serve the Haitian community, work with them, because we need something fun for all our folks that are here and to celebrate. So
Would you say more about what this program is? Because it's the first year that the fund has specifically targeted this approach to branch programming.
yeah, sure. So the fund reached out to the branches. They have proposing a branching out sort of grant program, a Creative Catalyst mini grant, where you could come up with whatever you wanted, sort of blue sky, and just let them know what you wanted to have, what kind of programs you would like to have, and they would fund it. And so we really wanted to focus on our Haitian community, so we did that. So lots of the branches are going to have these upcoming really cool programs. I can't remember them all right now, but all of the locations came up with different kinds of things, arts related, some are technology related, writing related, all of these wonderful things. So it's really exciting to have that.
Thank you.
May I ask one
Well,
more question?
yes.
Would that be okay?
Yes,
Sorry.
please.
For Jennifer, just this is an amazing location, I noticed, after the renovation, and I suspect other trustee members, as we, or at least I, sort of look at so many other capital projects going across Boston Public Library System. I guess my question is, in your words, how would you think of sort of the renovation and the expansion and the investment leading to sort of a return, if you will, right, in terms of what you're trying to do and expand your services? Because I think that gives us color as we're sort of looking at other capital projects throughout the city.
I'm sorry, could you rephrase that?
Yeah, so sorry, it was a lot. Essentially, after the renovation you had here, how would you sort of look at that and see, how would one look at sort of almost a return on that investment?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I remember the previous building, inside. I didn't work here at that time, but I remember it. I mean, and I'm sure it was lovely in 1961, but I think it just, the needs change of the community and the library, and it was a little bit more kind of claustrophobic and dark, and so it did not have all the functionality that we have now, which would include this room, first of all, with a gallery wall, and the sound system's great, and the lights are great. So it also having a conference room that's very popular for people who need to take meetings, or younger professionals who want to use the space, having study rooms. None of this was here before. So having a teen room, our teens are just traditionally in American librarians, public libraries are a little bit, they're not considered, haven't been really considered. And so having a dedicated teen space was great. And our teens really appreciate that, having a space of their own. Even if it's not huge, it's theirs. And so just all of those things, the study rooms, the outdoor terrace, people can go out there and get some fresh air. All of these things have contributed to the uptick, I think, in people coming here. It's, again, I think, Priscilla, you pointed this out, like a beautiful space, makes you feel better about yourself. It elevates oneself and elevates all of the patrons too. I think it's light, it's bright, and it has nice circulation.
Yep.
And it's wider aisles. You can navigate strollers and wheelchairs and all of that. So I think it's a beautiful space, and that also elevates
And you- yeah.
people.
And you get a chance to walk around. Now, you were here I forgot your name, I'm sorry.
Joan Hamilton, I was here in 76. I worked here in 76.
And so you know the difference. So when we do our walk around, you can point some of the, yes. So the return on investment has been qualitative and quantitative. And once again, we're thrilled, we really appreciate your presentation. And again, all of us here often say, have you gone to Rosendale? Have you visited the Rosendale? Have you seen the dome? And like that. So we take pride in it, and we certainly appreciate your presentation. And we hope that with our friends group that they can learn from what you've done, and that your model, your enthusiasm, your participation gets replicated throughout our system. So thank you very much.
Just another comment in response to Trustee Liu's question about our capital plans for branches. We will certainly get into that probably in either the January or the March meeting more specifically. But in 2012, the library did a study of all of its facilities to identify which ones were in need of support or modernization and so forth. And thanks to now 4 successive mayors and the budget and capital commitments, which we hope continue, we are about halfway through that series of renovations. So if everything in our existing capital plan gets executed the way it's intended, then we will have touched every single branch that was identified as needing attention in the 2012 plan. So.
So,
Madam Chair, would you like to go back and take the roll call vote on the minutes, and then I'll continue?
okay, yes.
Because we have quorum since we...
We have a quorum, and so I'd like to take a roll call vote. Everyone had received the minutes. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Probably.
So moved. Thank you.
3 new trustees.
Yeah, do you want us to abstain since we weren't
I-
there?
yep,
Yeah.
I have it written in mine.
Okay, thank you very much. And now I'll turn it back to David for the president's report.
Thank you. I will continue. At the chair's invitation, I was asked to give some high-level remarks regarding trends that we are seeing in through our conversations with other library systems, both regionally in Massachusetts, nationally, and indeed globally as well. Several of our staff members get to travel to either meetings with other entities or attend conferences, and that informs the work that we do every day. And we're going now from the micro level locally, hyper-local level, up to a more macro level. Michael Colford serves on the PLA board right now, the Public Library Association board. Paula Seki and I are just back from the Urban Libraries Council meeting in Seattle. And so I just want to share some of these thoughts at a very high level, any one of which could become an hour or 2-hour conversation, which I will not promise not to do today. But really, these are the concerns that are being shared among our colleagues in different places. Globally, the state of youth education continues to be a major source of concern. We know that reading levels in particular, and we use the 3rd grade reading level in the US as the major index of success later in life, or of falling behind if you're not reading at that level. And so this continues to be a key focal point for libraries across the world. The notion of inclusiveness, whether we talk about it in terms of racial equity, diversity, justice, ableness, abilities, and so on and so forth, continues to show up as a key framing of libraries' work. The chair opened with recalling us back to free to all as our way from 1848 and beyond of instantiating those principles. Migrating populations continue to be a concern across the globe. We heard just recently from our branch librarian locally about newly arrived friends and residents from Haiti in particular. The rise of book challenges is not just a US phenomenon at this point. We have, as one of my colleagues in Germany said, how did you manage to export this from the US to the rest of the world? In making a joking remark, but getting very serious about the rise of populism and the tide of challenging public libraries around the globe. The rise of AI, artificial intelligence, whether it is the next phase of simply automating technology or something more serious for society. We don't know yet whether this is a tool we can take advantage of in libraries to better serve the public, something we need to provide training services on, a little bit more than Tech Goes Home as we offer today, or whether it's actually a threat to employment and labor and culture. There's also a desire to reconnect to our history and our culture, which certainly something BPL is trying to get more serious about as we continue on our path to discovering our own special collections. These continue when you look at national challenges. The book challenges in the other parts of the country are particularly disturbing and I think come in three forms. They are either challenges to public libraries, they are challenges to school libraries, or they are challenges to those teaching in the secondary level. Sometimes all three. It's worth noting that Massachusetts in 2022 had the fourth largest number of challenges to books in the country. So we are not immune from this. And maybe we're better at counting the challenges, so that explains it in part, but that does not allow us to write it off entirely. Those statistics are gathered by the ALA, the American Library Association, so you can certainly consult with those data for more detail there.
Have the challenges been to us, to our branches?
No, the BPL has not experienced other than a negligible uptick in challenges to books within the public library system. Specifically, it is in other towns and counties throughout the state, and specifically within the school system in particular. In other parts of the country, we have seen librarians lose their job, being fired by their boards for refusing to take materials off of their shelves. So this is providing a chilling effect, even in areas where the challenge is not as direct. I'll talk about the state level response to that on the next slide in a moment. We're also connecting to our research communities. Our universities are finding an entirely different version of this in terms of how to support intellectual freedom on campuses and connect to their local communities. While individual library workers may connect to specific aspects of the associations and other organizations, at a trend level and at a policy level, it's the IFLA, which is the International Federation of Library Associations, the Urban Libraries Council, the Association of Research Libraries, although that has slightly less relevance for us system-wide, and the PLA in particular, the Public Library Association, which is itself a division of ALA. That is where we turn to for sharing our experiences, but also learning from colleagues. So I just wanted to provide that high level that while we have 25 locations and neighborhoods that we are very focused on serving the public in, we're also paying attention to trends at a higher level. I will just do one more slide and then I'll pause for a moment before continuing. The good news in Massachusetts is that elected officials in both the House and the Senate have brought forward a whole slew of bills that are specifically aimed at protecting a variety of concerns on these topics. The first two, H3239 and Senate 2188, are both geared to protect the rights of libraries to purchase e-content in particular, which has been a point of concern in our work with publishers for some time. It costs us up to 5 to 6 times the cost of an ebook as the physical material. And so for every ebook you buy, I mean, oversimplifying, but for every ebook you buy, that's 4 or 5 items in print that you're not able to buy because of the pricing models. And additionally, when you're buying an ebook, often you're buying a license for like 26 holes or 26 lens or for 2-year period, not in perpetuity the way you do with a physical book. And then not quite as advanced yet, but there's a whole slew of other legislative activities geared towards protections for libraries, for library workers in doing their jobs, and supporting the right to read in legislation and tying it to state funding. So Senator Rush and I were just talking a little bit about this before the meeting got started, and we're looking forward to having his and Rep. Tyler's support in working with colleagues across the state.
Would you take a couple questions?
I would.
On this? So obviously, I don't know how other trustees feel. It is shocking to me to hear that statistic about Massachusetts and the number of complaints and concerns raised, because I think we all look at places like Florida and think, well, that will never happen here. And it does. Obviously, I know, I'm sure that if we were to start receiving the kinds of complaints raised by local groups or individuals about things we have on our shelves, that would be considered a major policy discussion that we'd all want to have, and obviously we'd probably hold firm on those, push back against that. Do we also feel like we've made it clear to the branches that we sort of have their backs on that as well? Because I could imagine if you were in a branch and you were in a community where there was a very vocal group that was trying to push the branch to remove books from the shelves, it could be intimidating. So I think it's important that the branches feel that the trustees and the central library sort of would be supportive of not responding to those complaints.
Yeah, I think we can ask Jennifer as well in a second, but I think in terms of challenges and issues that we're seeing from the broader community in Boston, it's more to do with our programming in reality than it is to do with our content on our shelves. Whether those be e-content or not. I think it's also worth noting that the majority of the challenges across the country are targeted at books dealing with issues of racial justice or works by authors who are people of color, or LGBTQ content. And so on the programming front, where we have seen protests and demonstrations is particularly around not for some time, but last year and the year previously, when we've run Pride Month programming such as Drag Queen Storytime, which we're not doing a lot of because our programming has evolved a little bit right now. But that is an area where I think we as the management team have gone out of our way to try and be as supportive as we can when we know there are programs that may be perceived by some as controversial, and taking steps to support staff.
David, can I ask a question? So like piggybacking on your question. So, I don't think any of us were prepared for what they call a black swan event, such as what happened when the pandemic hit in March or whatever it was in 2020, or George Floyd's murder in May of 2020. Or October 7th, Hamas terrorists going into Israel. As you do this, right, there's lessons to be learned as to what's happening now, right? So this is a snapshot that you're sharing with us as to trends nationally and internationally. And Kristen, maybe this is something that's going to come up when we go through our strategic plan and all that process, but I wonder, where do we have the capacity to sort of like to predict the unpredictable? The space that we don't know what we don't know, so that we will be in the right place when those black swan events occur, right? October 7th, who was expecting that on October 6th? And what has been the result of that right now? The public discourse is divided, there's animosity, there's potential for this escalating in ways that we would have never thought of. And so I'm just positing that for all of us to think, where is the space for us to think about what we don't know that we don't know? Because something may happen that will impact us in ways that we're not aware of.
I mean, you're asking for the imponderable in some ways.
Yeah, I know.
But at the same time, our strategic roadmap from 2019, the bridge document from 2019 to 24, one of the principles in there is expect the unexpected. So we're at least acknowledging that possibility and that reality. That was before the pandemic occurred or any of the other events and other names that we do not know or do not recall in the moment. So what we are seeing, and you'll see in the notes, the slide that talks about the safety and security of staff is of deep concern in public libraries across the country. And thanks to Michael's leadership and his team and our relatively new social worker on staff, providing another support mechanism for staff in their work. She has talked about trauma-informed support for the work, which is not something library workers in general would have considered several years ago, but we see people present with their whole selves, whether it's in a branch or in the central library, and those are often challenging individuals to deal with. Sometimes it's just one or two people, and that's fine, that's fine. But if it's a lot, then that wears on you. So I think one of the lessons I take from your question is that we as a group, including with our friends, need to remember that we, and particularly our line staff, are on the front lines of what civic reality is today. I don't know that I've answered the imponderable, but
I think being aware is the first step, right? But I'm hoping that in being aware, at least we have a place that, we sort of have a protocol as to the who and what the action plan is in case, regardless of what level of that event may be, right? With the mindset of, first and foremost, let's make sure we protect our staff, our librarians, our patrons, et cetera, but I just want to make sure that we don't lose sight of that, because sometimes we can get comfortable and not realize that what's happening on another side of the world will impact us one way or another.
And in the strategic planning process, these are the types of discussions and conversations that we're going to have, informed by our engagement with the community. And looking at, that's why I asked David to talk about these national trends today, to really set the stage, because it's either coming or it's there, and it impacts and influences us. And so as trustees, that's the purpose of this overview today, to really for us to have a collective mindset, because it's going to go beyond the strategic planning committee. Now, I'm concerned about the time. I'm looking at Pamela, I'm very concerned. She's sweating over.
So the balance of my report is the statistical data around our performance, comparing largely fiscal 19 to fiscal 23. I am fine holding that until a future meeting if we would like to move forward. I think the overall point, though, really is that our overall aggregate statistics, if we have go one more slide, please. So if you look at the bottom right of this, we are at 99% of our overall reached numbers from FY19, which means we have restored basically overall our service. It's highly uneven when you go into the individual locations and the individual metrics. But on balance, they are all trending back towards what they were pre-pandemic levels, with interesting high performers and more challenged performers around visitor counts, circulation counts, program attendance, and so forth. But I think in the interest of time, I'm happy to leave this to the trustees to digest and maybe bring it back to a January or March meeting.
Unless there's
This deck
is there
is
pressing?
is in our package.
The deck and the supporting spreadsheets with the data is in your onboard folder.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, and I assume that either in the strategic planning process or otherwise through the board, we're going to talk about ways to try to look at some of the gaps among branches and try to identify what's missing for some and why, and what we can do to sort of make some improvements.
Yeah, I think at the overall strategy level, that's, what is the modern 21st century public urban library, and what does it take to be the greatest of those, and what is the balance of, reading materials and programs that support that versus other programs and services writ large, and are these in fact the right metrics to be counting to, on a quantitative measure, either justify that or not? None of this replaces the qualitative impact of the stories that we heard from staff about working with an individual patron or individual child or group. And so we want to be very careful about an over-reliance on the quantitative, but at the same time, it informs the work in a way that should allow us to know where we are. I think at the operational level, in some of the branches we'll see, well, they're really high on circulation and someone else could be really low on circulation but really high on program attendance. So it is not universal, and that tells us something about the uniqueness of a community, a branch, a staff. And unpacking that so that we don't think it's one size fits all, I think is important too.
So we'll definitely be doing a deep dive and spending time on this. I didn't ask Christian to give an overview of the strategic planning yet. I was waiting until we got to the vote, but we could, I'll ask him to talk about that after we get through this presentation.
Great. We have a brief update from Sarah and Josh on our branch facilities process,
Yes.
which really allows the trustees to understand what happens when something goes wrong or when there's an emergency. So I want to share that with you. And then the other item in my report is Michael's presentation on the Mass Board of Library Commissioners Action Plan. Our still relatively new Chief of Staff and even newer Chief of Operations. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Hi, trustees. This is a follow-up from the last meeting. We heard a little bit about a particular branch closure, and Josh and I thought we would just spend a few minutes, and you don't have slides on this, just helping you understand what happens when a branch closes, and wanting to make sure that you left, feeling informed and confident that we had, plans and operational procedures in place. So, 4 types of closures. So, if you picture a box in your mind, there's a quadrant. There's planned short-term closures, planned long-term closures, unplanned short-term, and unplanned long-term. So keep those 4 things in mind. I'll talk about the planned, and Josh will speak to you about the unplanned. So a planned short-term closure could be like Upham's Corner needs the ceiling painted. We can't do that when we're open, right? And maybe it takes 3 days, so we would try to maximize doing it on the weekend, but we still might need 1 extra branch day. We would plan that closure. The public is informed about it. We use our website. We use physical signage in the branch. We use social media to let people know on this day your branch will be closed. The staff, typically in that situation, will have an option. They could take a vacation day of their own if they want to, or they can work at another location. And it's up to them. They have that choice. So plenty of notice is given to the community and to staff. And again, we try to minimize it by using like a weekend time to get that done. So that kind of thing happens when we have minor construction to do. Do you want to talk?
And the example you just used was the planned closure. The ceiling needs to be
Painted.
painted.
Upham's Corner, right.
And it's planned, it's a maintenance, everybody's aware and are notified.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yep,
good.
and it's as brief as we can make it, so we, don't close for any longer than we need to.
Thank you.
So when it comes to unplanned short-term,
Jay, is it okay to move?
Yeah, touch it.
so when it comes to unplanned short-term, these are generally related to facilities issues that come up unexpectedly. However, we have had some issues here and there. For instance, this summer we had a power outage in a neighborhood where we did have an unplanned short-term closure. But really, if you use the example of a flood, that's a great short-term example. And similar, we have the communication protocols for the web, social media, physical signage for that branch, and the same thing for staff, same procedure for staff. They can take vacations, personal time, or they could elect to work from another location or work remotely for the rest of the day. We do our best to get vendors on site. We have our internal team get out there, do an assessment, and then make sure that we can do what we need to do to get the branch back open as fast as possible.
Now, what category is that again? That
Unplanned short-term.
unplanned, and what's defined as short-term? So like when the toilet overflowed up in Eggleston, that
Yeah.
A day,
So,
a day,
A day.
1 day, yeah.
Versus the south end is not, that's a different category.
that's different,
Okay.
yes. Definitely
Yeah,
very
it's our fourth
different term.
category, yeah, very different category.
Mm-hmm.
So then we have planned long-term closures. So that's our capital plan, which
Yes.
we've talked about before. Here, you're all familiar with that. So planned long-term closures are multi-year process, right? We have a whole list from currently closed to about to be closed to in design, program study, or just sort of on the list, budgeted, but it hasn't happened yet. So long time horizon. People are, staff are well aware that they're on the list. They're looking forward to that happening. When a project actually goes forward and it's, hey, you're funded and you're going to get closed, with the staff and the community, it's usually 18 to 24 months of time that they're noticed about it. So it's a long time horizon. As you heard from the friends, they're very engaged in that process. We appreciate the friends and other community members joining in the program study where we say, what do you want in your library? The design study period, which we can, that's what it sounds like. And you look and say, where should we put everything? What should it look like? Those are both, up to 1 year long processes. And then within the months leading up to the closure, so Fields Corner, for example, should close early next summer, for their major renovation. So that's time for us to weed the collection, prepare to move the collection. Staff will think about where they want to work during that time period, and we try to meet both the library system needs and also staff preferences if they have one. And so those staff are also, at all times, they have time back in the schedule to stay engaged with their own community. So they are based somewhere else, but they have time to come back and provide those interim services. So when the closure actually happens, like Fields Corner next summer, we will use, all the resources at our disposal. We'll use outdoor time, outdoor space if we have it. In Fields Corner, there's a park across the street, so we will do story times and activities in the park across the street. We will partner with nonprofits in the area. So the Faneuil branch is closed right now. They have weekly story times at the YMCA in Oak Square. The librarians there at the farmers market regularly doing programming in the neighborhood on Saturday. So we try to be very active and keep the staff engaged with the community even while they are based somewhere else during that closure period.
And what is the level of service that's provided? Do you say, well, we can't, it's not 100%.
Right.
It's not the same level of service. Is
Right.
there a percentage or some, I don't know the rest
Yeah,
of the question.
I wouldn't put it in a percentage, but there are weekly activities, I would say still weekly services and programs being offered in that community. And we do, as we talked about last time, and Jose, you brought this up, we encourage people to explore other branches. While your branch is closed, most locations are near some other locations. That's, Boston's a relatively small place, so with a few exceptions, you can get to another branch, and we welcome, friends from other locations to come and try out a new branch while your place is closed. But there will usually be a weekly level activity, like story time, like book club, things like that going on even during the closure. And then
The thing that I don't know, and some of the trustees have talked about it, that can't be replaced is the community. That kind of community feeling. There are some people who just like to hang out at the library. They
Right.
like to see their librarian. They kind of meet up in the library.
Right.
And even if they are able to go to a different branch, that
Yeah, they miss that.
cohesiveness of the community,
That's
what
right.
do we do?
Well-
Can we impact that, affect that? What?
Yeah, so there's like South End right now. Christina Jones is the branch librarian there, and she has a weekly book club that she's having in a local ice cream shop. So she's still bringing people together. They know she's their branch librarian. She's very visible in the community. So we try to keep some of the staff there for that visibility and connection that people really value. And the last-
Wait a minute, and I just wanted to say to the trustees, one of the things is, during that process, we are invited to participate in those discussions about how's the branch going to be utilized. Joe and I participated in the West End conversation. I think some of you participated in the Chinatown discussions. So how are we notified, though?
So those are all public meetings,
Yeah.
and they would be on the
Pamela.
and they're also on the public website, which I would encourage everybody to continue to pay attention to deeply, because there is so much happening at the library, not just these kind of meetings, but programs that you might be interested in, and it really is the best way to stay up to date.
All right, and lastly, we have unplanned long-term closures, which in the normal course of business of the library, this is extremely rare, and I think the South End is the most prominent example, I would dare say, in the history of the Boston Public Library, you know, the modern history of the Boston Public Library. Um, this is due to a sudden but also catastrophic event at the library. In the instance of the South End Library, the repairs would have cost multi-millions of dollars, and we had a capital, the South End was on the capital plan for a number of years down the road, which the cost to do the repair would have, you know, been a significant portion of that capital. So the question was posed to the community about what do we do here? You know, do we make this repair for multiple millions of dollars, potentially pushing a larger capital refresh further down the line, or do we try and move you guys up the list and do the full refresh as soon as possible, going through the normal city process, right? And now in terms of services, Sarah spoke about a number of those, and in terms of staff, you know, the same options have been offered to staff. And at this point, you know, the communication has gone out to the community, and I would venture to say that if, and I got no wood to knock on right now, but if this were to happen, you know, in the near future, on a case-by-case basis, we would really look towards all of our methods of communication to notify the community and to really involve them in the process if this, something like this were to happen again.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
The next item in my area of the agenda is Michael's presentation on the action plan, which is an annual plan that we are obliged to file with the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners.
Good afternoon, trustees. This is an item you'll be voting on. You all have the plan in your booklets. Just a little context. Some of you remember that this is something we do every year. We file an action plan with the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners, which enables us to apply for LSTA federal grant funding if we so choose to do so. We need to have this plan on file with the Mass Board of Library Commissioners. For many years, that was the Compass plan that we used. Since the Compass plan has run out, we transitioned to a strategic roadmap. And with that strategic roadmap, we just recently, the leadership team, identified a series of institutional priorities for the library for this year. So we use the strategic roadmap goals as our guideline, and in those goals, we put our objectives in as the institutional priorities that the leadership team had identified. So that's what you have in your program book. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If not, we can take a vote.
You want to vote on, any questions regarding this
My
plan?
only question
Yes.
is, on goal 2, I'm reading that to say that our primary focus on programs are programs that focus on equity. So I guess I have 2 questions. Racial equity, gender equity, do we intend that to, can you be a little clear about what that is? Even if you're comfortable just explaining to us. And then number 2, is our intention to say that, or to say delivering programs and services, including those that focus on building and maintaining equity?
Sure. If you look at the more detailed plan under Goal 2, it lists the specific things we are going to be trying to accomplish this year. That includes targeting underserved communities in need of services, where we'll be implementing trauma-informed approaches and hiring a peer resources navigator to help expand support for those. Providing public programming that is targeted, unified, and has a maximum reach, whatever that target audience is. And then prioritizing and delivering youth services that serve the city of Boston priorities.
Thank you.
Sure.
The overall framing will get updated when we actually work on our strategic plan. So, but under those bridging goals, there are individual initiatives.
Okay.
It's in the packet, not in the slides.
Thank you.
Sorry. This is just a synopsis.
And are these goals in order of priority, or is it a list?
It's just a list.
Okay, so we need a motion.
So moved.
Okay. To approve this, the MBLC Action Plan 2024. So move. Second. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Thank you, trustees.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Before we go to the next piece, I wanted Christian to talk a little bit about the strategic plan and that process, because it really ties nicely into this conversation. And then we'll get to the Finance and Audit Committee.
Thank you very much, Priscilla, and thank you, Jennifer, and to the Friends for inviting us. This has really been a wonderful afternoon. It's such a privilege to be here in this beautiful library. I'd like to give a brief overview of the process that we followed to select a consultant to advise the Strategic Planning Committee and the board on our strategic plan for the library. So let me do that now. The Strategic Planning Committee developed a RFP earlier in the summer in close coordination with BPL staff and community stakeholders. 16 applicants responded to the RFP, representing some of the top design and consulting firms operating in the library and public sector space. A committee led by PPL staff selected 6 finalists. Jose and I, in coordination with Priscilla and David, conducted a series of 1.5-hour interviews with each of the finalists. We were incredibly grateful to have the participation of Lisa Pollock and Sarah, as well as Teresa, who we saw earlier, and Laura Koenig, two of the BPL's most seasoned librarians, on the interview panel. Ultimately, after extensive deliberation, we selected a joint bid from Gensler and Margaret Sullivan Studio. Gensler, one of the world's leading design firms, has advised organizations such as the Smithsonian, the Jackie Robinson Museum, and the Boston Center for the Arts. Margaret Sullivan Studio is an organization led by Margaret Sullivan, who's written extensively on the future of libraries and is one of the world's foremost experts in library planning. She's advised large urban public library systems such as the San Francisco Library and Los Angeles Public Library. It was clear to the selection committee that Gensler and Margaret Sullivan had spent a lot of time getting to know the BPL and our community and brought a unique perspective on how urban public libraries can anchor communities at the heart of the so-called 15-minute neighborhood. From the perspective of the interview panel, Gensler and Margaret Sullivan Studio will be ideally suited to advise the Strategic Planning Committee as we reflect on what it means for the BPL to be a 21st century urban library. I'm pleased to report that the Governance and Nominating Committee accepted our recommendation to propose the engagement of Gensler and Margaret Sullivan Studio to the Board of Trustees for consideration. And at this point, I'll pause for any questions.
It was actually the Finance and Audit Committee, just a clarification.
Thank you, Pamela.
So how is it going to work with a joint, it sounds like we have 2 consultants that we've hired, or is that, or am I missing something?
It's a joint bid, so Gensler has worked with Margaret Sullivan before on other engagements. Gensler is the design firm. They've done engagements for libraries, including the Brooklyn Library in New York. Margaret Sullivan is someone whose life's work is libraries, and so I think is providing a bespoke library approach in tandem with Gensler. But unlike some of the other bids that we received, it was clear that this Gensler team, which is based in Boston, really knew and had worked with extensively in the past Margaret Sullivan, so we were confident that the partnership would work and be seamless.
Contractually, the award will, if you vote in the affirmative, will be to Gensler. Margaret Sullivan is a subcontractor to Gensler.
That's clarifying, helpful.
I'm assuming we spoke to, I'm sorry. I'm assuming we spoke to 1 or 2 clients of theirs or prior clients, so we got some good feedback about how the projects went.
Yes, absolutely, Cheryl. Thanks for asking that. We made sure to do a robust reference check, and it all affirmed our view.
So you're looking for a vote?
Let's invite, so we're going to move formally now to the finance.
Okay.
and invite Emily up, who's our Chief Financial Officer, and this is her first trustee meeting. Second trustee meeting, first live one though, right? Weren't we? You were introduced, but here you are
First
today.
one, I'm sitting in front of you.
You sit- the first
And
one,
that's
you're sitting in
exactly
front
how
of
I was going to wrap it up, Christian.
Exactly.
So thank you for
And
putting that together.
It's a pleasure.
as you know, John is not here, and so Senator Rush is going to call for the votes. Is that?
Yes.
how he's been,
Do you want to do this as a slate, or would you prefer to do them individually?
I would say as a slate.
Okay.
We have 5 altogether, so there's 3 looking for formal approval and then 2 that will be delegation. So I'll split those into 2 slates if that's okay.
thank you.
We just went over the strategic plan, so thank you again for piecing that together. The next one is the Company One contract. So this is a $250,000 contract for a 3-year partnership with Company One. It's going to provide theater productions, programming, and community engagement across the system. Writing development workshops, storytelling events at the branches, and then if you all are familiar, they've already hosted 3 different productions at the Central Library, so those will continue over the next 3 years.
Is there anyone here from Company One today?
There is not, but Michael Colford is able to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Procedurally, these votes have all gone through the Finance and Audit Committee for full review and discussion, and certainly we're able to entertain more here, but they have been fully vetted at the Finance and Audit Committee level.
Great, moving on. The loading dock repair, we have some necessary structural repair that needs to happen to the loading dock floor at the Central Library. And we're asking for the approval of a contract for structural preservation systems in the amount of $425,500. And that will be our first slate. So Company One, the loading dock, and the strategic plan.
Madam Chair, on behalf of the Finance and Audit Committee, I'd like to make a motion to vote on this first slate.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Great. All right. Thank
So
you.
moved.
So moved.
Thank you. So next we have 2 votes that we're actually asking to be delegated back to the Finance and Audit Committee. So the next grouping of this full board won't be until, I believe, the end of January.
Right.
So we're hoping to put together a special meeting of the Finance and Audit Committee in December in order to award these next 2 contracts. The first one is for the multifunction printer contract. It would be up to $750,000. It's a 5-year contract that's both the servicing and the equipment for printers, scanners, photocopiers throughout the entire system, both for patron use and back of house as well. One of the key components of this particular bid is that it needs to integrate with our Faro system, and there's still just some testing that needs to happen, which is why we're asking to delegate this to a December meeting of the Finance and Audit Committee. The next is the newspaper I'm so sorry. 3 years? For newspaper. It doesn't say. I apologize. Okay, multifunction printer is 5 years.
Yes.
Next up, the newspaper digitization contract is a 3-year contract. The bids are due just about right now.
It just went public, so the bids are due, I think, 4 weeks from now.
Later in November, the bids will come back in. It is up to $500,000. This is phase 2 of a project that's been in the works. I think you all have learned a little bit and heard a little bit about this over the past couple of years. This is the next phase of that. So up to $500,000. The reason that we're asking to have this go to a special meeting in December is just so we can get that work started and not have to wait until the end of January for another full board vote.
Thank you. Senator Rush?
Madam Chair, on behalf of the Finance and Audit Committee, I would like to make a motion to call for a vote on slate 2.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any? Okay, great. Abstentions. Thank you.
And I just wanted to, I
Yes.
will make a revision to add that the newspaper digitization contract is for 3 years. That was not included in the wording. That was just noted today. I'll add it in the vote wording.
Thank you. Okay, good. Thank you, Emily. And you're going to review this?
I will, just quickly, the FY23 gift report. So You can see a snapshot right here in your screens in front of you there. Starting off, the affiliate group donations were all significantly higher than they were in FY22. The fund increasing almost $600,000, a number of this going toward young adult workforce, teen programming, and community history and digitization. The associates increasing over $250,000, going a majority, or excuse me, substantial amount of it going toward the founding research collection and key special collection staff as well. And then the branch friend groups, and I was politely reminded this morning or this afternoon that the Rosendale Friends, that wonderful presentation they gave us earlier, and I think they gave a very nice breakdown of the donations that they've made. It was not captured here, so we're working behind the scenes to make sure that their numbers and their donations are captured moving forward. The majority of the donations that you're seeing from the Friends group go to support the Library Pass program across the system here. Overall, about $800,000 more in donations for FY23 than we've seen in the past. Obviously, really appreciative of these donations and the work between our affiliates and the friend groups that are bringing these in.
Thank you. Thank you for this very positive report, and thank you all for your gifts and all the effort that goes in. Certainly, I mentioned early on the extraordinary work of the BPL Fund and the associates, and of course, our citywide friends. So thank you. Anything to add, David?
No, this completes both the President's report, Finance and Audit report, and I believe we are done with the content of the meeting and can take up any new business at your discretion and public comment.
Great, thank you. Any new business? Anything that trustees want to report? State? Okay, so I just have one thing, and that's the Museum of Fine Arts has Dressed by Sargent, and the work of the Sargent murals at Copley is prominently displayed in their timeline on 2 occasions, and there's an incredible portrait that was made in front of the MFA. So please, if you haven't seen the Sargent murals at Copley, please go see them, because we're getting a lot of good press there. Now I'll turn it over to Pamela for any public comment.
Thank you. We have two signed up public comments. The first one is here and one is online. Why don't we start with, do you want to start online? All right. Amber DeAngelis is on the Zoom call. She is, can you just unmic yourself? Here we go. Amber, you have 2 minutes to give your comments.
Wonderful. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. I just wanted to thank Jen Haas for a wonderful speech today, and as well as the Rosendale Friends group. That was great, and it's always nice. I wish I could have been there. I just wanted to highlight an event that Research Services is hosting as part of our Local and Family History program next Wednesday, November 15th at 6 p.m. called Stolen Relations, Centuries of Native Enslavement in the Americas. It is a panel of Native American leaders, Linford Fisher and Cheryl Tony Hawley, Alexis Moraes, and Lauren Spears. And they'll be talking about the history of enslavement of Native Americans throughout North, Central, and South America. It is a history that unfortunately is not brought to prominence, and it's one of those things where we are having this panel so that people can learn more and confront the pieces of history that are often hidden from us. So thanks.
And just noting that Amber sent me the link while the meeting was going, so that I can share it with the board after this for that event.
Perfect. Thank you. Sounds interesting.
Thank you, Amber. And next we have Alyssa Kadillik, if you wouldn't mind going up to the mic. I know, I'm sorry about that.
I'll go over here so she doesn't open anybody. Is it afternoon? Yes, evening. Good evening, trustees. My name is Alyssa Kadillik. I'm president of AFSCME 1526, Boston Public Library. I represent the library assistants, clerical workers, the mechanical. You've heard this before, a lot of you. First thing I want to start with, I appreciate the support, Chair Douglas, of the work that our staff do. The one thing that I would appreciate even more from the Board of Trustees is that you embrace, when you talk about the library staff, that you call them the library staff. I have computer experts, I have facilities, I have carpenters, I have library assistants, I have shipping, I have loading. I have all of these fantastic members who are not encompassed in the term librarian. You know, it's hard to train public, but I certainly hope the trustees will back that. And going forward, we've gotten our management team to mostly do it. I certainly hope the trustees will do that as well. But we certainly do want to make sure that we're encompassing when we talk about equity and equality, that we do acknowledge everybody that works at the BPL. We also want to talk, or one of the things that I want to talk about is you heard a lot of the programming, or you have in front of you the aspects, and we need more staff to open our doors if we want to talk about longer hours. This is putting a toll on the mental health of the members that I represent. I also sit on the ALA President's Advisory Committee, and it is one of the topics that we are talking about workshops, not just here at Boston Public Library, but across the country with other staff. And so this is something that we do take seriously, and that I certainly hope when there's a push for opening increased hours, whether it's from the trustees, whether it's from the mayor's office, that you will seriously consider whether or not the burden on the staff meets the needs, and if we have enough staff to actually do it, and we don't across the system. Another thing that I'd like to raise is just about Company One. I know we've worked with Company One for many years, and for many years we have raised this issue to the trustees and to the management team and to the predecessor of Emily, who just took over as CFO. Company One often puts out tip jars. They pass envelopes around asking for people for money. They often, when the tickets are posted online, it is unclear until you get to the very bottom that you actually don't have to pay for these tickets. I personally have gotten complaints from friends of mine who want to attend or have looked it up online. Many of my members have as well. My members staff these with the AV, so I've got Amanda over there who is diligent at working at these, and a lot of our equipment also gets damaged. Is that us? And our equipment often gets damaged too in the process. There are a lot of other companies out there, theater companies, who offer programming, diverse programming. Their participants are a little more diverse, and I will say they're a little bit less expensive. So I hope going forward, obviously you voted to go into a contract with them, but that certainly going forward or looking about it, that we pay a little bit more attention to who we have coming in to do programming in our facilities and our communities. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment.
And for the newer trustees, I just want to re-articulate what our standard practice has been for public comment, is that where there are items that require response, we will consult offline and bring that back to the trustees, either in writing or at a future meeting, as opposed to responding on the spot.
And so we're going to adjourn this meeting, and to all of you, our next big holiday coming up is Thanksgiving, and I hope that you enjoy that. To all the library staff, enjoy, and a call for adjournment. I'm just going to gavel it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We now have a tour that's available of the facility here. Thank you.
I'm sorry that I didn't